All of this material serves to confirm your sexual obsession. The material recovered from your computer and hard drives revealed for the first time something of your aberrant behaviour when you were teaching at St Mary's Primary School. There were 3 strands to that behaviour. Chan had committed a large number of serious and troubling sexual offences between 2011 and 2017, but these were non-contact offences. You had limited yourself to looking and watching and recording, but you had not touched your victims with that one significant exception. That all changed in 2017 when you left the primary school and took up your position at the nursery. Your offending escalated and became far more serious. Counts 1 through to 20 reflect that offending. Harm is, in my judgment, in category 2 because the child assaulted in each case is extremely young. Culpability is in category A for the obvious reason that your breach of trust could hardly be greater, and you recorded the assaults. You must also, it seems to me, have carefully planned each assault in order to escape detection. A significant aggravating factor is the location, the nursery, a place where, of course, every parent and guardian expects their child will be safe. In addition, as the prosecution point out, the recordings themselves capture the sounds of others, indicating that other children were in the vicinity. In this particular case, the fact that the children were asleep is a more nuanced feature of the case, but it seems clear that you took advantage of the children being asleep in order to assault them. I have, of course, kept the issue of totality in mind. Every right-thinking person hearing about your offences would feel revulsion and disbelief. Your conduct was utterly wicked, perverse, and depraved. You became a sexual predator and someone who had clearly lost all sense of moral compass. For every parent and guardian, their children are the most important part of their lives. They are priceless. When very young, they are at their most vulnerable. Most parents and guardians have, of course, at some point to entrust their children to the care of others, and that trust is honoured by all conscientious teachers and carers. But you, Victor Chan, chose to breach the trust placed in you by the parents and indeed your fellow staff members, both at St Mary's Primary School and then at the Bright Horizons Nursery. You did so in the most despicable of ways, violating the trust of your child victims at the school and then the bodies of your child victims at the nursery. This was, in my judgment, offending of the utmost seriousness, beginning, so far as one can tell, with you downloading child pornography from the internet from at least 2011, creating your own library of sexual imagery whilst working at St Mary's, before moving on to carry out what may be termed a campaign of penetrative and non-penetrative sexual abuse. For each of the offences of assault by penetration, in the context of all of your offending, had you been convicted after trial, the sentence would have been one of 27 years. That is reduced by 1/3 in the light of your pleas of guilty to a period of 18 years. There will be an extended licence period of 8 years. And so the sentences in respect of each of the offences set out in counts 3, 5, 7, 9 and 10 are expressed as concurrent extended sentences of 26 years, of which the custodial element is 18 years and the extended licence period is 8 years, making a total extended sentence of 26 years.
Vincent Chan's offending is the most abhorrent offending that you can ever come across. He is a paedophile who preyed on the most vulnerable victims in child settings, both at primary schools and nursery establishments, where at the time that he should have been nurturing and looking after those children, he committed the most vile offending.
And can you give an idea of the scale of scale? Is he one of the most prolific sex offenders that the Met has dealt with?
Well, we know that Vincent Chan is a paedophile who has spanned across from 2007 up until he was arrested. We know he preyed at those establishments. We know that he preyed on the most vulnerable individuals. So he certainly is one of the most heinous individuals and predators that we have come across.
How do you think he's managed to go undetected for so long?
He did do this offending in high-risk areas, in child settings, in the primary schools, but he was able to avoid detection, and it was only when a nursery worker saw a video that he had depicted of non-sexual crimes that his behaviour became apparent, and subsequent downloading of digital devices was what's basically unearthed his offending over this period. But ultimately he was able to go undetected for many, many years.
And what are the specific challenges for the investigators dealing with the case? That is the amount of evidence you have to go through in the harrowing content.
Certainly the digital devices, we have reviewed over 300 hours of both moving imagery and single imagery, which were all across Vincent Chan's 69 digital devices. That offending is the most abhorrent offending that you could ever view, with officers having to sit there daily to grade the images and the videos that they were seeing. We know that digital imagery and digital devices are at the heart of all criminal investigations now, and so significantly this was an area of our investigation which was so significant, but ultimately was what brought Vincent Chan to justice.
And finally, do you think there are potentially more victims that haven't been identified?
So the investigation team have done their best to identify all those victims that we have identified through the images. Unfortunately, the takeaway from this investigation will be the unknown. We know what we know because he recorded himself doing these acts, and we know that he's then kept those images of his offending, but we also know that he's worked for many years across these settings, and what we don't know is the offending that may have occurred where he didn't digitally record it. And to the families that have had children go through those establishments, I absolutely appreciate that the unknown is having a massive impact on them, and hurt that they'll never really know what happened, and will never really know the level of Chan's offending.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I am Detective Superintendent Lewis Basford from the Metropolitan Police. Today's events have been hugely significant. This significant sentence reflects the gravity of Vincent Chan's crimes and demonstrates that such calculated harm against children will be met with the full weight of justice. Support for victims and those affected have been at the heart of our work. We recognise that although our investigation may be ending, the journey for those navigating the impact of these crimes is only just beginning. The scale, nature and cruelty of Chan's offending have caused immeasurable trauma to children, families and the wider community. These crimes took place over 13 years, but the consequences will be felt by many for a lifetime. The commissioned NSPCC helpline remains active, and we would encourage anyone with concerns to make use of this resource. This helpline is there to provide information and support and can be contacted on 0800 028 0828. A parents group shared a message that they wanted me to read on their behalf. The fear we feel about the cruel violation of our children will never dissipate. Ordinary memories from early childhood are now tainted with doubt, anxiety and guilt. We are unable to look back on our children's earliest years with peace, certainty and optimism. Instead, memories and photographs of our children when they were most innocent, achieving milestones of walking, talking, reading and writing will permanently be coupled with doubt, fear and worry about Vincent Chan. What should have been a time of safety and innocence has now become a source of enduring distress. Through the already commissioned local child safeguarding practice review, we have pledged to ensure that parents and carers' voices are at the front and central to this. Its findings will help to protect against similar incidents in the future. To all victims and families, your strength, cooperation and courage have shaped this investigation from the very beginning. I thank you wholeheartedly for the trust and willingness to engage with police, as it has ultimately allowed us to be where we are today. My further thanks go to the investigation teams whose efforts have allowed us to stand here with confidence today, knowing that every identified victim has been seen, heard and given the justice they deserve. To the CPS, whose joint working to ensure charges were secured at pace, and to the media for your reporting with empathy, restraint and respect. And finally, a message to the public. We stand with every victim of child sexual abuse, and we will continue to do everything within our power to protect children and pursue offenders, no matter how complex or confronting the investigation may be. Thank you.
I'm James Smith from the Crown Prosecution Service. I'm a Deputy Chief Crown Prosecutor and the head of the Organised Child Sexual Abuse Unit. Vincent Chan's crimes were appalling. When parents drop their children at nursery or at school, they put their trust in the staff to look after their loved ones and to help them develop. Vincent Chan was someone who should have been caring for and nurturing children. Instead, he broke the trust placed in him and exploited his victims at their most vulnerable. His obsessive and predatory instincts are clear from the number of children and adults he abused and spied upon for his own gratification. I know that Vincent Chan's actions have caused a great deal of harm to his victims, to their families and to the wider community. I would like to thank them for their courage throughout this case, and I hope that the efforts of the Metropolitan Police and the Crown Prosecution Service can bring some small relief to those he has hurt and reassure the public that we are dedicated to pursuing justice for victims of sexual abuse. Thank you.